Hola, mi gente. Welcome to La Vida es una podcast, a space where we have authentic and honest conversations about life experiences. We are your hosts, Itzel and Dante, and thank you so much for joining us on our 10th and final episode of Season 1. Woohoo!
Wow, this is our 10th episode already. The time flew by. If you haven't listened to our previous episodes, make sure to check them out on your favorite streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and even on YouTube.
We are so excited to continue bringing you engaging, meaningful conversations and exciting topics in Season 2.
But today, we're diving into the world of investing. We'll share our personal experiences, talk about the emotions that come up when investing, and provide you a step by step guide to help you get started. Investing is an essential tool for financial growth, and we want to make it accessible for everyone. Quick disclaimer, personal finance is unique to each individual, and it's essential to find the approach that works best for you. We're here to provide guidance and share knowledge, but please remember that the information we provide is not personalized financial advice. It's crucial to do your own research and consult with professionals to make informed decisions based on your specific situation.
Before we begin, we want to express our immense gratitude to all of you for listening and supporting us throughout this entire season. It means the world to us. Okay, so let's start off by sharing our stories of how we first got exposed to investing. I'll go first. In my investing journey, Dante has really played a pivotal role because he was actually the one that introduced me to the world of investing. Besides my coworkers, I didn't know anyone in my family or friends who were investing. I was honestly too afraid to bring up the topic because I didn't want people to know that I had no idea how to invest. At first, the term investing really scared me. I felt like I didn't know enough and would never be like quote unquote smart enough to understand it, and also that I was already so behind in my investing journey. But over the first 2 years of working full time, Dante patiently shared his knowledge with me and helped me learn and become more comfortable with the concept. Slowly by slowly, I became more empowered and finally built up enough courage to dip my toes into investing. It honestly took me 2 years to gather up that courage and finally start investing after having talked about it for so long. Dante's support and the fact that we were doing it together really gave me the courage to take that leap. Dante helped me open my first brokerage account, educated me on index funds and stocks, and I gradually gained the confidence I needed to be able to do it on my own. I feel so grateful for you, Dante, for educating me on this and really holding my hand throughout this investing journey. It's been a few years since I started investing, but I don't forget how intimidating, overwhelming, and scary it is when you first dive into this investing world. In reality, investing isn't the most accessible thing. The investing websites are not easy to manage and navigate, but also there are so many terms that you have to learn in the process of investing that it honestly scares people off. It took me a few years to understand adult conversations around investing, and I had a supportive partner by my side whom I could turn to and be real about the fact that I didn't understand a single thing about investing conversations a lot of times. But Dante didn't judge me, and if we both didn't know a term or concept, we would look into it together and share our findings. So I think that really helped develop the confidence that I needed to jump into this investing world and continue to do it on my own. I think having a friend, family member, coworker whom you can talk to about this really makes the journey more tolerable and a difference in how you approach investing.
Thank you, Itzel, for being my partner in crime to learn about investing. And you said it, like many things in life, it does take a village to make things happen. And similar to your journey, Itzel, I did not learn about investing from my parents or family members. I learned it by hearing about it from friends and coworkers and then doing my own research. My journey with investing started 6 years ago when I graduated from college. As I mentioned in our episode on budgeting, when I started working, I was focused on paying off my school loans. And there were really two things I wanted to do before diving into investing. The first one was to pay off my school loans, and then the second one was to create an emergency fund. And once I got to a point where I reached those two milestones, I had some extra money, and that's when I began digging into how could I grow my savings faster. At work, several of my coworkers and friends would talk about buying stocks and investing, which got me curious, so I decided to learn more about it. My first job played an important role in my financial journey because this is where I learned about investing. During my first job, I worked at a consulting firm where I spent countless hours researching and reading about tech companies and startups every week. I spend a lot of time reading tech news and financial research reports. This exposure to financials and the rapid user growth of tech companies allowed me to connect the dots. It became very clear to me that tech giants like Apple, Google, Facebook, and Netflix at the time were the fastest growing companies over the last decade. And that's when I said, hey, I think I would like to invest in these fast growing companies. It sounds like a good opportunity, and the data supports it. So a friend suggested I try Robinhood, which became my first investing app. I signed up on it, funded the account, and bought my first stock, which I believe was Microsoft. That first experience opened my eyes to the power of investing. And like many things in life, once you get started, you will see that you learn a lot along the way and make mistakes, but treat these as learnings.
It's really great to see the progress that we've made, both like mentally and emotionally. We are way more comfortable with investing now. Of course, the fear of losing your money never goes away, but we've grown so much. And I don't think I take enough time to look back and realize that I was so not comfortable with this topic a few years ago. And now here we are talking about it. That's pretty incredible.
If you're curious to find out what happened to that first stock that I bought, and one of the probably biggest mistakes I've made in my investing journey, stay tuned till the end of the episode.
Yes, stick around. All right, let's move on to define what investing is and talk about why you should start investing.
All right, so let's begin by understanding what investing means. When you invest in financial markets like the stock market, it means that you're buying a piece of ownership in public companies. For instance, Apple, Netflix, and Coca Cola issue stocks, which represent ownership of those companies and are traded on stock exchanges. Now, it's good to point out that there are different ways to make money from stocks. One way is through dividend payments, where companies share a portion of their profits with shareholders, or you if you were to buy one of their stocks. This means that every quarter or 3 months, you may get paid a certain amount of each stock that you own, and the amount tends to be usually in the range of a few cents, even up to $1. The second way is through the increase in the stock's price itself. For instance, if you buy 3 shares of a stock at, let's say, $100 per share for a total of $300, and the price goes up to $150 per share, you've made a profit of $50 times 3 shares, which is $150 total. Essentially, you're getting the value of a fourth share for free.
So, what I'm hearing you say, Dante, is that when I buy a stock, I essentially become part owner of that company. Is that right?
That's right, you're buying a piece of ownership of Apple.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Investing is a powerful tool that helps your money grow and protects it against inflation, which is currently really high. When you invest, there's a chance to earn an average yearly return of 7 to 10%. On average, people say that the stock market gives you a return of 8%. And this is based on research and data analyzing how the stock market has grown over the last decades. This is what it means when people say that your money is working for you. It means that your money will grow over time just by participating in investing. Investing is an important step towards financial security and building wealth. However, it is also important to recognize that investing in stocks involves some risks. Stock prices can decrease, and in some cases, shares can become worthless if a company goes out of business. This is why a lot of financial educational content recommends investing in index funds.
All right, so let's talk about index funds, which are a type of investment that can be beneficial for people, especially if you're new to investing. Let me break it down for you in simple terms. Imagine you want to invest in the stock market, but you don't have the time or expertise to research and pick individual stocks. That's where index funds come in. An index fund is like a basket that holds a collection of stocks or other assets. Instead of trying to select specific companies to invest in, like Amazon or Google, let's say, an index fund aims to replicate the performance of a particular market index, such as the S&P 500. And you may have heard of the S&P 500 because the news talk about it all the time, especially about how well or bad it's doing. What's so great about following a market index like the S&P 500 is that they're made up of the top 500 companies in the US, which span across various industries. By investing in an index fund, you get exposure to a diverse range of companies all at once, spreading out your risk. Another way to think about the S&P 500 is that it mirrors the US economy as it tracks the performance of the nation's 500 largest companies. Another advantage of index funds is that they typically have lower fees compared to other types of funds. These lower fees can make a significant difference in the long run because they don't eat into your investment returns as much. And one thing I want to highlight is that index funds are also great for diversification. And this is something you hear a lot of people talk about. Let me define that for you. What diversification means is that you are investing across many different companies in many different industries to reduce the overall risk of your investment portfolio. Essentially, diversification is to hold a variety of investments instead of putting all of your eggs in one basket, as the poor performance of any one investment potentially can be offset by the better performance of another investment, ultimately leading you to earn a more consistent overall return. And we saw this last year. A lot of people investing in tech companies. Towards the end of the pandemic, these tech companies got hit really hard. They started decreasing their stock price, and a lot of people got fearful because their investment portfolios were in the red. They were losing a lot of money. But let's say if you're invested in the healthcare industry, you have a few companies you invested in, like energy, your portfolio would have had higher returns than if you were just investing in tech companies. And that's why diversification is so important.
Thank you for explaining all of those concepts, Dante. Index funds are known for their simplicity. You don't need to worry about picking individual stocks or timing the market. With an index fund, you're essentially investing in the overall growth of the market, which historically has shown positive returns over the long term. One of the downsides to index funds is that they usually have a minimum price of $3,000 that you need to initially deposit to buy that fund. And then once you meet this barrier to entry of $3,000, then you can just buy that fund at the price that it's trading at. An alternative, because I know this is a high price to enter this fund, is to buy ETF versions of those index funds.
One quick thing I want to clarify is index funds is the umbrella term. Within index funds, there's two types. The first one is mutual funds, which we've been talking about, and the second one is ETFs. The difference between a mutual fund and an ETF is that mutual funds, you usually have a minimum amount that you need to have in your account to start investing in mutual funds, usually in the range of $2,000 to $3,000. And this is just for the first time you're wanting to invest in those mutual funds. Whereas an ETF is sometimes more accessible. You only pay the price of what that ETF or stock is trading for. I share this because when it comes to investing and thinking about the stocks that you want to buy, the price point and how much you want to invest is one of the variables you want to keep in mind. For example, when we first started our investing journey, like I mentioned, I started investing and picking individual stocks that seem interesting and I did my research on. But later down the road, as we read more and learned more about the importance of investing, we got exposed to mutual funds and ETFs. And so now I would say present day, we're investing more in mutual funds and exploring ETFs as opposed to doing research and spending lots of time finding individual stocks to invest in.
To sum it up, index funds are a popular choice for many investors, including beginners, because they provide diversification, have lower fees, and offer a simple way to participate in the overall market's growth. It's like getting a piece of the entire stock market without having to do all the research and decision making yourself.
As a general financial tip, I would encourage you all to always do some research before you invest your money in index funds or stocks and understand the potential risks that are involved. The great thing is that investing has become easier to get into nowadays. Many online platforms and apps that handle investments don't charge you any fees for trading, which means it's more affordable for you to invest in things like stocks and other assets.
So you're probably wondering, when should I start investing? If you have a high interest debt, little emergency savings, or an upcoming major purchase, it might be wiser to focus on those priorities before starting to invest. Doing so will ensure you set yourself up for a stable financial future long term.
Now, on the other hand, if you have extra money, no major upcoming expenses or purchases, and you have an emergency savings fund set up, then at that point, it's a good time to explore investing. And one thing I want to debunk is the common misconception that you need thousands of dollars to start investing or that only wealthy folks can invest. That is simply not true. You can start investing with as little as $20 or even buy fractional shares of companies. A fractional share is a portion of a stock that is less than one full share. So let me give you an example. Let's say an Amazon stock costs $100 today, but you only have $10 to invest. Some apps and brokerage accounts will let you buy a fraction of that Amazon stock. So with $10, you would get 10% of the price of an Amazon stock.
Investing is a valuable opportunity for individuals of all financial backgrounds to grow their wealth. Now we want to dive into the emotions behind investing. We understand that it's not easy for everyone to take that leap and start investing.
Absolutely, Itzel. Let me share a quick story to highlight the emotional aspect of investing and how sometimes it does feel like you're on a roller coaster. So, 3 years ago, during the height of the COVID pandemic, the stock market crashed due to growing instability caused by COVID. The S&P 500, which we have talked about, dropped significantly, about 34%, which was the biggest drop since the 50% decline in the Great Recession of the 1930s. At that point, I was very stressed out, and throughout those weeks, I kept thinking, should I sell all of my stocks because my portfolio was red? I was losing lots of money, and the value of all my stocks were less than what I had paid for initially. I remember having conversations with you and we would talk about this like, hey, should we sell our stocks or should we keep them? Because I was really scared that we were going to lose all of our money. But one of the key lessons and principles of investing is to hold your stocks long term because over time companies grow and you should only sell if you need the money. For instance, for big purchases like buying a home. If we were to sold, I would have been very, very mad or sad because that would have been a really big mistake. And now stocks are kind of going back to a normal state, starting to increase. And so, like many things in life, recessions are cyclical, meaning that when things fall, they will only do so for a period of time until the prices start going back up. If investors sell when the market is down, they will realize an actual loss. And this is a lesson many investors have learned, which is to sit tight and wait for the upturn to come so that you don't realize a loss. In fact, if you hold on to your stocks, you may even see more value and more gains than you had before the downturn. And I'm so glad Itzel said, hey, let's hold off and not sell. And we'll be okay because if not, we would have lost money and had to pay taxes on top of it. So, two key lessons from the story are number one, don't check your investments every hour. This is something I used to do when I first started investing. It's just going to add a lot of stress to your daily life. And the reason for that is because stock prices fluctuate every second or almost every minute. The second thing I want to highlight is during a downturn or recession, don't panic and sell your stocks. Know that an economic downturn too shall pass, and it may be best to sit tight and wait for the prices to start going up so you don't sell at a loss. As you mentioned earlier, Itzel, investing can feel overwhelming, especially if you come from different socioeconomic backgrounds or you don't have a lot of extra income to spare. We want you to know that you are not alone in this feeling these emotions of fear and uncertainty, because we also felt them when we were starting, and so many people feel this way as well.
Investing is a journey, and it's important to remember that it's not about comparing yourself to others or feeling pressure to invest beyond your means. It's about taking small steps and building a solid financial foundation that works for you.
That's right, Itzel. Everyone's financial situation is unique, and what matters most is that you start practicing good financial habits such as saving and budgeting, which we talked about in previous episodes. Investing may come later when you have more resources available, but it's always great to plan ahead and learn as much as you can about investing. So when you're ready to jump in, you can go into it with peace of mind having done your research and avoid costly mistakes that we have made.
So if you're feeling intimidated or unsure about investing, know that you are not alone. Take your time, educate yourself, and seek guidance from professionals when you're ready. The most important thing is to start somewhere, no matter how small the first step may be.
And remember, the journey of investing is about long term growth and financial security. It's not a race or a competition. We're here to support you and encourage you along the way.
Yes, absolutely. Investing involves risks, and it is crucial to acknowledge the emotions that come with it. Remember to invest only what you can afford to lose and embrace a long term perspective. It's a journey, not an overnight success. We believe in you and your ability to take control of your financial future. All right, now let's move on to a step by step guide on how to start investing. Here is a simplified roadmap. Step 1 is to open up a brokerage account. This is the account that you will use to buy funds. We have done research on which companies to use for investing in the past and decided that Vanguard was an established company that was reputable for investing. So we have been investing with Vanguard ever since we started investing, but Fidelity is also another one that is commonly used. We want you to feel comfortable in your decision, so don't hesitate to do some reading and decide for yourself which brokerage account to open up.
Step number 2. Fund your brokerage account by transferring money from your checking account. When you transfer your money, it will sit by default in the settlement fund, also known as the money market fund. And one thing to clarify is that the settlement fund is not an index fund. You can think of it more as a digital wallet that holds your funds.
Once you have funded your brokerage account, the third step is to actually buy the stock or the index fund. We've read some stories of how people forget to buy their index funds or stocks, thinking that the money market fund was the index fund itself, meaning that their money doesn't grow, and years later, they realize that all those years, their money was just sitting there and not growing. So please, please do not make this mistake. Make sure that once your money is in your brokerage account in the money market fund, then you actually use it to buy an index fund.
Now, some of the index funds that we have bought in Vanguard include BFIAX, VIGX or VIGAX, and VTSAX. In case folks want to check them out, and this should get you on your way to start investing.
That's it, really. 3 simple steps. 1, create an investment account, also known as a brokerage account. Number 2, add money to your account. And 3, buy the index funds. Although you may want to see your money grow overnight, remember to practice patience and know that investing is a long-term process. You may not see a lot of results in 1 or 3 years, but after 5 years, you definitely start to see the returns on your money, which is a great feeling and which I've witnessed firsthand. So don't get discouraged and know that this is a long journey and you will see the benefits if you continue investing for the long term.
There you have it, a step-by-step guide to kickstart your investment journey. However, we do have a few more insights to share for those who have made it this far in this episode, so thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll share also my story of what happened to that Microsoft stock.
Tip number 1, don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Consider investing in index funds for broad market exposure as opposed to picking individual stocks. Tip number 2, avoid selling when the market is low and stay committed to your long-term goals. Tip number 3, set up automatic investing to consistently contribute throughout the year. This has helped us a lot to avoid being emotional investors. That means that because the market is high, you don't want to buy because you're potentially buying that fund or stock at a high price, but then at the same time, not buying when it's low because you're fearful that it's going to continue to dip. And last but not least, tip number 4, do not monitor your stocks or funds daily, because research shows that this actually discourages people from investing.
I think one thing that helped me is, I noticed that I was checking, my stocks every few minutes or a few hours, but then I said, hey, I need to stop this. So instead of checking every minute or hour, start checking it maybe once a day. After that, maybe check it once a week, maybe, and then move to once every 2 weeks, maybe monthly. And that way you don't have a very regular frequency where you're opening the app or opening the website and getting stressed out. Hey, my stock is going down, or hey, my stock went up a lot. And then you start adding a lot more work and stress to your head about whether you should sell, you should buy more. So just keep it simple, slow and steady. Get to a rhythm that works best for you.
That was great.
As promised, here's the story of my first stock. So I bought my Microsoft stock in November of 2017. The price for the stock I paid for was $84.01. I wish I could have told you that I held onto that stock until to this day, and I made a 4x return, as the Microsoft stock to this day is worth now over $343. But that wasn't the case. After 2 weeks of holding that stock, I started getting notifications that the price of Microsoft shares were falling, and it was getting close to $84, going down to $83. So I just panicked, and I was really scared I was going to lose my initial investment of $84. And so within those 2 weeks, I ended up selling the stock at a slight gain of a few cents, $84 and something. Unfortunately, I had to pay taxes the next day on it, but if I were to go back in time, I wish I would have held on to that stock and not sell. But being a first-time investor, I was very emotional. I was afraid of losing my money, and this is something we talked about at length today, and that's why I sold. right? It was a rash decision, but going forward, I think I share this story because I don't want you to make that mistake. When you make that first investment, you might feel a bit nervous, right? That's okay, that's normal. But know that you're doing something that's good for you. And if you hold that investment over the long term, that investment's gonna be worth a lot more than what you initially paid for. And there might be days when the stock market goes down, there might be days when the stock market goes up. But at the end of the day, you wanna make sure you hold on long term because you have a bigger goal in mind, which is to invest in your future and to continue growing your money. And that's the power of investing, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you buy your first stock, don't sell it within 2 weeks. Hold it longer. And we hope you found this episode insightful and you enjoyed it. To wrap up today, let's recap the main points we discussed. We explore how we got exposed to investing, the emotions behind it, and provided you a step-by-step guide to begin investing today.
We hope this episode has provided some insight and encouraged you to dip your toes into the world of investing. Remember, building wealth is a journey that requires time, patience, and a long-term perspective. By starting your investment journey, you're taking a significant step towards securing a more stable future. Remember, investing is about building wealth over time and making informed decisions that align with your financial goals. To wrap up the concepts that we've talked about in the last few episodes, I want you to remember this phrase: keep your money busy. B stands for budgeting, S stands for saving in a high-yield savings account, and I is for investing.
I love that. Keep your money busy. Thank you, Itzel. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this journey. We're incredibly grateful for your support throughout Season 1. In Season 2, expect more incredible guests, deeper conversations, and stories that inspire us.
Your support means the world to us. Stay tuned for the upcoming season where we'll continue to explore various topics like traveling, identity, and personal growth with honesty, authenticity, and vulnerability. Until then, take care and remember that your financial well-being matters.
If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss out on new episodes. Season number 2, it's on its way. Your support helps us reach more people and continue delivering valuable content. Thank you for being part of our podcast journey. La vida es una y tú eres parte de ella. We would love to hear from you. Please let us know what was your favorite episode from season number 1. And if you have any ideas for topics you would like us to cover, let us know via Instagram or YouTube.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram or TikTok at La Vida es Una POD to stay connected.
Thank you for tuning in, mi gente, and we'll catch you on the next season.
Les mandamos muchos abrazos y muchas gracias por acompañarnos. Hasta la próxima, mi gente. We are not financial experts. This episode is only for education and entertainment purposes.
That's a wrap.
Yeah, season 1 done.
La vida es una.